But Renault have not got the cigars out yet. Honda were very competitive, as you can see, in the qualifying session. Of course, we don't know how much fuel everybody is carrying. We're estimating somewhere between 16 and 20 laps the first stint of this race, with perhaps the Renaults running slightly longer than the Hondas. But it's only a guess. You can see there Robert Dornbos replacing Christian Klien in the Red Bull racing car. Managed to out-qualify teammate David Coulthard, although Coulthard was always faster than Dornbos. It was a communication mix-up that led to Coulthard missing the cut and getting into the top 10. Kubica once up there again, up in the top 10 for the 4th time in 4 races. And then an indication of just how good a job Schumacher did is that the next Bridgestone shod car on the grid behind him is 14th place Mark Webber. Teammate Rosberg alongside him, or just behind him, and then it's the 2 Toyotas who were knocked out in the first qualifying session. Felipe Massa, you see at the back, he had to go back 10 places on the grid. Intermediate tyres on Alonso's car, Michael Schumacher as well. I think everybody is going to start on the intermediate tyres. It's not wet enough for the extreme wet, which is a more deep cut groove tyre, nor is it anything like dry enough for the dry tyre. Although interestingly, Martin, talking to the Michelin people yesterday, they say that the changeover from a dry condition to a wet, the lap time to look out for is around 1:42.
I don't think that time is an absolute in that respect. It also depends on the particular condition of some of the corners.
Could be an opportunity for Renault to take back the lead in the Constructors' Championship here with 2 more races to go. There's Barrichello ahead on the grid of Jenson Button. Highly emotional looking Nick Fry there, the boss of Honda. 56 laps then of the Chinese Grand Prix will get underway when the 5 lights go out. Alonso on your right, Fisichella on your left. The lights go out, Alonso accelerates away, Fisichella goes to cover behind him. Barrichello on the right, Button on the left. Which of those 2 will get into the first corner first? It's Barrichello with Button on the inside of Raikkonen, who tries to take both of them. He's taken Barrichello, and I think he might want to take Button as well. One of the BMWs is in trouble. Raikkonen still attacking. I think Barrichello has resisted, but Button has dropped back behind Raikkonen. There you can see Heidfeld attacking as well. He's right up behind Michael Schumacher and Pedro de la Rosa.
Yeah, I think Kubica went very wide in the first corner. Brilliant opportunistic action there from Raikkonen, and he's still at it. This time, though, he gets cut off on the exit of the corner as Button defends his 3rd place. Barrichello then down to 5th. Michael Schumacher maintains his 6th position, and the Toro Rosso there of Liuzzi, I think there was, that's P10 at the moment. Coulthard charging hard too.
Yeah, Coulthard started 12th on the grid. Alonso leading then, Fisichella 2nd, Button 3rd, Raikkonen 4th. 5th is Barrichello, 6th Michael Schumacher, where he started on the grid. 7th Pedro de la Rosa, 8th is Scott Speed in the Toro Rosso, and 7/10 of a second behind Barrichello is Michael Schumacher in the Ferrari. 6 seconds behind race leader Alonso at the end of the previous lap. We'll take a look at the gap now as Alonso goes through. Where is Schumacher? It's now 9 seconds. He's lost 3 seconds on that lap alone.
Centred at the inside, DC sees it coming and gives him just enough space. Michael Schumacher, the fastest man on the circuit in the middle sector, up in P5, and
this is how he did. He's passed
Barrichello. This is into the last corner. Barrichello comes over to cover his line, not realising Michael's already there, and he's up now into P5. Rosberg whacked his front wheel coming through the long turn 12. DC slipstreamed him down the back straight and retook the place.
And Trulli lost momentum by running wide, and Massa was able to get past him. Felipe Massa then up into 15th place, riding on board with Rosberg. Now back behind Coulthard. Rosberg 14th.
I would think DC's sitting wondering what's going on at the moment. He's got no grip and acceleration off the turns, carrying that one-stop load, and he's just on the defensive the whole time. Ted is down in the pits.
Yeah, they're very worried at Honda because Michael Schumacher's just done a 45.1, Martin, his 3rd lap in a row in the 45s, and Jenson Button's last lap, 1 place ahead of him, is 46.6. So, well, I mean, it's a problem for Honda. They thought they could race with Renault today, but Ferrari catching them up leaps and bounds.
They certainly are. That's a good spot, Ted. Yeah, Michael Schumacher closing the gap down now to Jenson Button on that last lap by 1.5 seconds. And he was closing up on the back of Jenson Button, and he has moved past Wilson too.
Try to push Rosberg.
Those tyres that just went on at the stop looked fairly new. They look like one of the new sets from qualifying. They must have done just a few laps on them.
Thank you, Ted. And we got Alonso, the World Championship leader, the race leader, off the road. His tyres are getting thin as well. Meanwhile, Raikkonen is still absolutely flying behind him.
Of the Chinese Grand Prix, and he is the first of the big runners to make a scheduled stop.
Yeah, I think Jensen, his stop can effectively be called as scheduled. He was in a refueling window, so not too much damage there for Jensen, other than the time he lost with those worn-out tyres. So off goes Raikkonen. Did he change those? Did they change those tyres? I was looking at something else. Yeah, we believe they did.
Raikkonen goes back out again then. We know that Jensen Button rejoined, and albeit that Schumacher is still 20 seconds behind him, he's still going to need some magic, or for Alonso and Renault to have some kind of problem, because 20 seconds is still an enormous margin to make up in similar conditions.
Do you remember on Saturday morning when we were on the track, and that's a slow Raikkonen, Kimi Raikkonen popping and banging. It sounds almost like the limiter's stuck on, that sort of effect. But Raikkonen into the pit lane, I think, wasn't it? Is that the support pit lane out of the back?
From fourth place then, Kimi Raikkonen. Ron Dennis, the boss of McLaren, a rather resigned look on his face, and some unreliability creeping in there for the McLaren team. Rather unwelcome, as it always is, because Raikkonen competitive here this weekend. Michael Schumacher sets the fastest last sector of anybody so far. That lap for Schumacher faster than Alonso's again, and he's pushing very hard. Now right up on the back of Giancarlo Fisichella. This is the battle for second place.
Yeah, I was right about that. It's the support race pit lane that Raikkonen went into. So he's out of the Grand Prix, effectively. It wasn't the actual Formula One pit lane. He's 2 or 3 miles away from the pit, so Raikkonen has stopped in the middle of the track.
Now then, Fisichella has got a job to do here.
This is a replay of Liuzzi dropping the Toro Rosso. And whether he had a little helping hand at the back, we don't know. More likely, just very worn rear tyres.
Ferrari are ready for one of their two. It must be Michael Schumacher, because Massa started at the back and will be one stopping here this afternoon. Indeed, in comes Michael Schumacher from third place. He got to 19 seconds behind Alonso, but Renault have got some dramas communicating with their drivers at the moment. Ferrari need everything to work perfectly here to capitalise on any problems Renault may have.
Curiously though, and they don't change the front tyres either, they really basically want them to go bald to give them more grip as they head towards thinking about dry tyres. So curiously, Fisichella is now right on the pace of Alonso, and both lapping as fast as anybody has in this Grand Prix. So the Renaults are sort of coming alive almost again.
Came in behind the Super Aguri of Yamamoto, but I don't think that held him up any. They are changing the tyres here though, for a new set of intermediates. They look very new to me.
They've left the rears on though. The left rear looked very worn, didn't it?
It did.
As he left the pits there. So they've just elected to change the fronts then, as Fisichella takes the lead of the Grand Prix. And what is this coming down here? Is it Michael Schumacher? Indeed it is not. It's the Spiker.
It's the Spiker, all in orange, the new colour scheme of the Spiker team, having taken over from Midland, who are now out of Formula One. That was announced in Monza. In he comes, and there to welcome him will be Ted Kravitz.
Yep, but there won't be any tyres there to welcome him. They've got no tyres, but they have got the pressure-adjusting little machinery in the Renault pit lane. So clearly it's just down to the way each car is set up, the way it's using the tyres, and we can't tell from here whether they're taking out air or putting air in. But pretty good stop for Fisichella so far. Nice and clean, the tyres stay on, just a little pressure adjustment, 8.4.
So will he get out in front of Michael Schumacher? Schumacher's at the top of your screen. He will surely be down there easily in front of Schumacher. Got a bit of speed yet, mind you, but his tyres are still warm because they haven't changed them. I think they put a cranker front wing on it as well. Schumacher does a 1:43.8, a new fastest lap, until his fellow German Heidfeld went over the line and did a 43.2. The track is changing constantly now. Michael knew he had to nail it on the outlap and the first flying lap, but it wasn't enough.
Kubica we've seen flying off the racetrack.
There's only one set of tyres put on his car, and that's intermediates. Kubica's, and now he's lost so much pressure in the tyres. You can see the sidewalls flopping around on the curbs, and that's a replay of him. You've got to get out and be able to nail it straight away. And as I said earlier, it's better to go 2 laps too late than 2 too early. Heidfeld's left, and he's off again, and he's going to make contact with the ball, is he? No. escapes around the outside, and that's onto the main straight. Kubica will have zero grip.
Well, they made their first round of pit stops just a few laps ago, so they've got a long way to go. Alonso lap 22 he came in, just 6 laps ago. Long way to go until they need to make another stop. They can't surely carry on like this for long. The pressure is going to tell. Something has to give. This is where Schumacher can capitalise if he can get a good drive out of the final corner and get into the slipstream. Can Schumacher have a go at Alonso? Fisichella on the left, Alonso on the right. Fisichella takes the lead. He had to do that, really. Now we'll see Michael Schumacher siding past Alonso as well. Alonso comes back at Fisichella. And what about Schumacher? He's now trying to find his way through past Fisichella. 1, 2 and 3, separated by a handkerchief.
Fizzy's got to just stay there and protect Alonso until they either get into the window for dry tyres, and Kubica has shown us quite clearly that doesn't work at the moment, or they can get to Alonso's next pit stop window. So Fizzy then, will he still play the team game down here now? I'm sure that they're on the radio and he must be able to work out what job he's got to do. He's moved clean in front this time. Does he exit again? Does he give him a chance? Alonso's slow under braking. When you've lost grip, you can't get on the brakes. No, now Alonso is fully exposed to the Ferrari and Michael Schumacher.
I wonder if he's going to make a pit stop. He's absolutely a sitting duck at the moment. Yes, he's fully exposed. Fisichella's going on now. He's got to try and win this race to stop Schumacher taking the maximum 10 points. Clearly a tactical decision there by the two of them to share it out this way. Alonso knows. I reckon he's about 8 or 9 laps away from a scheduled pit stop. Of course, you can extend the window a bit, but he's taking a lot of pain at the moment, is Alonso. 26 to go to the finish, and you don't know what the conditions will be like for tyres. Schumacher on the inside, he takes the place. Michael Schumacher overtakes Fernando Alonso for second place here, and now he sets up after Fisichella. Alonso comes back at him.
But then they'd have to try and get that, as you say, Martin, in line, in sequence with putting the dry tyres on. That's some laps off.
It is some laps off. We've seen Kubica trying too early on the dry tyre. It simply hasn't worked for him as we look again at Michael Schumacher taking that second place away from Fernando Alonso. As into the pits comes Fernando Alonso from third place. Is that man led from pole position, had a 25-second lead over Michael Schumacher before the first round of pit stops, but Renault switched the tyres on his car and it was absolutely didn't work out.
He's got
a problem here on the pit stop. It's the right rear. It's losing us even more time. Ted Kravitz, what's going on?
Yeah, well, they just cross-threaded it. They managed to get the nut off. Again, it was the dry tyres that Renault hope will save Fernando Alonso's championship challenge, but he lost so much time, about 6 or 7 more seconds on that right rear.
Yes, felt at least that. Sorry, I blamed him for stalling. It all went quiet, but he just had to get out of the throttle with that right rear not on, and that's, of course, the wheel that hurt him, isn't it, in Hungary. He's struggling to find any grip on those remember, we were watching them out there in these conditions, and the Michelins really did struggle to get up and running, didn't they, in these conditions. De La Rosa slow. He could be about to lose the second McLaren. Ralf Schumacher's the fastest man out there. De La Rosa has had a spin, so maybe he was slow because he was recovering from that. I'm watching Alonso's sector times. He's about 2 seconds a lap off in the first 2 sectors alone. Is Alonso over the leaders who are still on those intermediate tyres. So at the moment, it's not giving him any payback.
A lot of calculation going on the wall here. Ross Brawn for Ferrari and Pat Simmons for Renault, 2 old friends and old adversaries. It's Thiago Monteiro who's spun the spiker.
Yeah, I tell you what, you're right about Heidfeld. Might be flying the ointment for Alonso, because if they're going to move, if Michael gets ahead and they have to move Fisichella out of the way, Heidfeld will be in there as well to spoil that little team play. This is a very difficult position for this car if they can't move it quickly. They are moving it now. They must be wondering whether they're going to have to put a safety car out there with so many people on the racetrack in the firing line of the entry to that first corner. It doesn't need quite that many people out there, I don't think, but no sign of the safety car at the moment. Alonso now down in a 1:41. He's enjoying those slicks. He's got out there and he's now making them work. How far can he get with those tyres?
It's advantage Fisichella.
Well, I'm not sure about that, because Michael will be up to speed more quickly in terms of he'll get the feel for those drives. You wonder if Ferrari are playing a bit of a tactic there by calling a very, very late pit stop. You're right, they would have seen Alonso suddenly going faster, cranking the front wing out, because you need more front wing in the wet conditions. In dry tyres, you want less front wing, probably a couple of degrees. And I think that move could well cost them could well win them the race.
Well, it depends how quickly these tyres get up to speed, and it depends what kind of lap time Fisichella can get out of his very worn and tired intermediate tyres now. This is an absolutely critical lap. I'd be very surprised if Fisichella doesn't come in at the end of this lap to change on the dry tyres, and this will decide the outcome. It's pretty ginger driving, for my money, from Michael Schumacher on this first sector. And this is a critical stop now. It's the in lap for Fisichella. What sort of pace is Schumacher doing? He's 2/10 slower on the middle sector than Fisichella was. He should have enough in his pocket here, Fisichella. He needs a good stop. Ted Kravitz.
Just watch the right rear, it's going on fine. Yeah, the guy, good work by Renault. And oh, those intermediates are so good. But that's a really solid stop, 6.6 for Fisichella.
Where is Michael Schumacher? Is that him at the top of the screens? I believe it is. It's going to be close, but it's going to be in Fisichella's favour. Staying out the extra lap did work for him.
No, but Michael's tyres are fully up to temperature. Fizzy will be doing the tippy-toe bit. And look, he's got him already. Michael Schumacher takes to the grass. Fisichella has no confidence to nail it. Schumacher waltzes past easily. Disaster for Renault. Fisichella's got to get on it like Alonso did. Otherwise, he'll just spend too long getting the thing up to speed.
So the track has not changed enough to help Fisichella. He couldn't get up to speed quickly enough. Brilliantly read, Martin. And that's worked absolutely perfectly for Michael Schumacher and Ross Brawn.
Look at this. Fizzy's just about hanging on to the outside of the track. Starts to turn in, and oh, Michael had to take avoiding action. Nothing less than that, really. And takes the lead of the Grand Prix. Alonso's 1.2 seconds quicker in the middle part of this lap alone, as Massa looks like he's got some problems and retires to the pits. The fourth retirement. Looks like a loose left rear wheel or damaged suspension. Loose wheel by the looks of it. So Massa then is going no further. Alonso is absolutely flying. He'll be up with his teammate pretty soon. It's a lot to ask, though, to get up to Schumacher. Before Schumacher does a 42.0, has a very difficult lap. We don't know if it's in traffic, but Michael Schumacher with a poor lap here.
There's Massa. Is this what caused his problem? I think it might be about to come up. Yep. Collision there with David Coulthard as they battled over 8th place. And that's put Massa out of this race. Schumacher has speed. Alonso has got to get past Fisichella and this lap traffic as well. They're going to part like the Red Sea, and straight through the middle is going to go the World Championship leader for the moment. And at the moment, if he finishes in second place, they'll be level on points. Alonso is up to second. Schumacher is leading. They will go away level on points if it stays like this. But can Alonso get himself up onto the tail of Michael Schumacher?
And we're on board with Jensen, and what's happening? He's gone up the inside. Oh, he's gone a little bit wide. He just put the right rear by a few centimetres onto the damp line, and that's what happens. It seems to me as if Renault have clawed back the deficit that they lost with that losing the mass damper.
Scott Speed there having a spin down in 15th place. His teammate Liuzzi is 10th. Heidfeld having a bit of difficulty getting past Christian Albers there. A back marker in the spiker, a little wave of the hand from Heidfeld, 4th place, and getting offline for his troubles.
Yeah, he braked on the damp side of the track. The spiker not getting out of the way, clearly with Heidfeld, P4. And is that Button going back past De La Rosa too? De La Rosa slips down to 7th. And finally, Heidfeld, now Button's ready to have a go at Barrichello too. He's having a massive charge at the end of the race.
Certainly is, riding on board then with the winner of the Hungarian Grand Prix, Jenson Button. 2 laps to go, and he's in 6th place, looking to try and take 5th away from his teammate. Heidfeld is only 4 seconds up the road from Barrichello as well.
This is going to be fun down at the end of the back straight if Jensen can keep. He takes a narrow line in there that gives him a bit of a problem. It's where he went off before, and Alonso, you sense, just beginning to... It's raining out there. It's raining. That's why Jensen suddenly caught him past De La Rosa. They're back into the 1:44s. They're struggling to stay on the racetrack. This is another 5 minutes of this, and the whole race would turn on its head.
Yep, the whole picture would change, but in fact, it is less than a lap to go to the end of this race. Alonso is the quicker man at the moment in this condition, but it's not by enough to make a difference. You can see him jiggling the front wheel.
He loves all that, doesn't he? He's so good at maintaining. We saw him, he left the pits and bolted, didn't he? Fisichella left the pits and tiptoed, and it cost him the lead of the Grand Prix.
Meanwhile, out of the final turn, one more lap to go for Button. A little bit slow on acceleration out of turn 16 for Jenson Button. He's lost some ground to Rubens Barrichello on the way down the main straight there.
So Jenson found himself in the wrong gear there. These V8s have got a very narrow torque curve, and he was underneath it. Just didn't go anywhere, but traffic comes into play as well. And what is going on? They're all struggling like crazy. Will Jenson find himself some grip around the outside? And no, is the answer to that.
That's Barrichello on the left. It's Heidfeld in front of us. He's got past Barrichello. Now can he get Heidfeld? Meanwhile, where is the race leader? Michael Schumacher must be close to collecting the victory. I would have thought. Here he comes through the final corner. He started this Grand Prix in 6th place. What an absolutely phenomenal drive by Michael Schumacher. He was helped by mistakes by the Renault team, but it's given him the victory that gives him the lead in the World Championship for the first time this season. Alonso finishes in 2nd place. They are level on points, but because Schumacher's won more races, he is the championship leader. Meanwhile, we've got an almighty scrap going on over 4th, 5th and 6th places.
Yeah, this is for 4th then. Fisichella's a long way down the road, although he went off on the last lap. He did a 1:52. But Jenson is feeling really frisky at the end of this Grand Prix, and clearly confident in these really, really difficult conditions. And is he brave enough, though, to sling it up the inside on what will be a damp piece of racetrack? And the BMW's fast in a straight line. He's not that close, but the traffic are going to come into play. This is for P4. Jenson lines himself up, and he tucks him up behind the back marker. Beautifully done. Barrichello comes in behind, hits Heidfeld, and Della Rosa's in there as well. Jenson made his way through, I think. But yes, he did. Jenson made it through. Will Barrichello get over the line?
But the only reason he got through was because Heidfeld was savagely held up by the Honda, the Super Aguri Honda of Takuma Sato, and I think there will be words said about that, because there is no question that he completely held him up. Barrichello lost his nose and the place to Pedro Della Rosa, who finishes in 5th place.
And Jenson Button picking up points as well, but all eyes on that fascinating battle. Ferrari against Renault, Schumacher against Alonso. It's guaranteed to go down to the wire now, to the final round in Brazil. And Renault retake the lead in the Constructors' Championship, courtesy of Fisichella's finish, along with Alonso's finish and Felipe Massa's retirement as well, as this amazing Formula One season gets better and better. Bye-bye.